The multiple camera setup, multiple camera mode of production, multi-camera or simply multicam is a method of filmmaking and video production. Several cameras are either film or professional video cameras are employed on the set and simultaneously record or broadcast a scene. It is often contrasted with single camera setup, which uses one camera. Generally, the two outer cameras shoot close-up shots or crosses of the two most active characters on the set at any given time, while the central camera or cameras shoot a wider master shot to capture the overall action and establish the geography of the room. In this way, multiple shots are obtained in a single take without having to start and stop the action. This is more efficient for programs that are to be shown a short time after being shot, as it reduces the time spent film editing or video editing the footage. It is also a virtual necessity for regular, high-output shows like daily soap operas. Apart from saving editing time, scenes may be shot far more quickly as there is no need for relighting and the setup of alternative camera angles for the scene to be shot again from the different angle. It also reduces the complexity of tracking continuity issues that crop up when the scene is reshot from the different angles. It is an essential part of live television. Drawbacks include a less optimized lighting, which needs to provide a compromise for all camera angles, and less flexibility in putting the necessary equipment on scene, such as microphone booms and lighting rigs. These can be efficiently hidden from just one camera but can be more complicated to set up, and their placement may be inferior in a multiple camera setup. Another drawback is in film usage. A 4-camera setup will use up to 4 times as much film per take, compared to a single camera setup. While shooting, the director and assistant director create a line cut by instructing the technical director to switch between the feed from the individual cameras. In the case of sitcoms with studio audiences, this line cut is typically displayed to them on studio monitors. The line cut might be refined later in editing, as often the output from all cameras is recorded, both separately and as a combined reference display called the QA split. The camera currently being recorded to the line cut is indicated by a tally light controlled by a camera control unit on the camera as a reference both for the actors and the camera operators. History and use. The use of multiple film cameras dates back to the development of narrative silent films, with the earliest example being the first Russian feature film Defense of Sevastopol, written and directed by Vasily Goncharov and Alexander Kanzhonkov. When sound came into the picture, multiple cameras were used to film multiple sets at a single time. Early sound was recorded onto wax discs that could not be edited. The use of multiple video cameras to cover a scene goes back to the earliest days of television. 3 cameras were used to broadcast The Queen's Messenger in 1928, the first drama performed for television. The BBC routinely used multiple cameras for their live television shows from 1936 onward. Although it is often claimed that the multiple camera setup was pioneered for television by Daisy Arness and cinematographer Carl Freund on I Love Lucy in 1951, other filmed television shows had already used it, including the CBS comedy, The Amos and Andy Show, which was filmed at the Hal Roach Studios and was on the air 4 months earlier. The technique was developed for television by Hollywood short subject veteran Jerry Fairbanks, assisted by producer-director Frank Telford, and first seen on the anthology series The Silver Theatre, another CBS program, in February 1950. DSLR's innovation was to use 35mm film instead of 16mm, and to film with a multiple camera setup before a live studio audience. In the late 1970s, Gary Marshall was credited with adding the 4th camera to the multi-camera setup for his series Mork and Mindy. Actor Robin Williams could not stay on his marks due to his physically active improvisations during shooting, so Marshall had them add the 4th camera just to stay on Williams so they would have more than just the master shot of the actor. Soon after, many productions followed suit, and now having 4 cameras is the norm for multi-camera situation comedies. The multiple camera method gives the director less control over each shot, but is faster and less expensive than a single camera setup. In television, multiple camera is commonly used for sports programs, news programs, soap operas, talk shows, game shows, and some sitcoms. Before the pre-filmed continuing series became the dominant dramatic form on American television, The earliest anthology programs utilized multiple camera methods. Multiple cameras can take different shots of a live situation as the action unfolds chronologically and is suitable for shows which require a live audience. For this reason, multiple camera productions can be filmed or taped much faster than single camera. Single camera productions are shot in takes in various setups with components of the action repeated several times and out of sequence. The action is not enacted chronologically, so is unsuitable for viewing by a live audience. Sitcoms shot with the multiple camera setup include nearly all of Lucille Ball's TV series, as well as Mary Kay and Johnny, The Dick Van Dyke Show, The Mary Tyler Moore Show, All in the Family, Three's Company, Cheers, The Cosby Show, Seinfeld, Friends, and Everybody Loves Raymond. Many American sitcoms from the 1950s to the 1970s were shot using the single camera method, including The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, Leave It to Beaver, The Andy Griffith Show, The Addams Family, The Munsters, Get Smart, Bewitched, I Dream of Jeannie, Gilligan's Island, Hogan's Heroes, and The Brady Bunch. These did not have a live studio audience, and by being shot single camera, tightly edited sequences could be created, along with multiple locations, and visual effects such as magical appearances and disappearances. Multiple camera sitcoms were more simplified but have been compared to theater work due to its similar setup and use of theater-experienced actors and crew members. The majority of British sitcoms and dramas from the 1950s to the early 1990s were made using 4 cameras and initially broadcast live. Unlike the United States, the development of completed filmed programming, using the single camera method, was limited for several decades. Instead, a hybrid form emerged using so-called outside broadcasts, filmed inserts, generally location work, which were mixed with interior scenes shot in the multi-camera electronic studio. It was the most common type of domestic production screened by the BBC and ITV. However, as technology developed, some drama productions were mounted on location using multiple electronic cameras. Meanwhile, the most prestigious productions, like Brideshead Revisited, began to use film alone. By the later 1990s, soap operas were left as the only TV drama being made in the UK using multiple cameras. Television prime-time dramas are usually shot using a single camera setup. While the multiple camera format dominated US sitcom production in the 1970s and 1980s, there has been a recent revival of the single camera format with programs such as Malcolm in the Middle, Scrubs, Entourage, My Name is Earl, Everybody Hates Chris, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, 30 Rock, The Bad Girls Club, Glee, Modern Family, Community, Parks and Recreation, Louie and Every Which Way. Most films also use the single camera setup. In recent decades, larger Hollywood films have begun to use more than one camera on set, usually with 2 cameras simultaneously filming the same setup. However, this is not a true multi-camera setup in the television sense. Sometimes feature films will run multiple cameras, perhaps 4 or 5, for large, expensive and difficult-to-repeat special effects shots, such as large explosions. Again, this is not a true multi-camera setup in the television sense, as the resultant footage will not always be arranged sequentially in editing, and multiple shots of the same explosion may be repeated in the final film either for artistic effect or because since the different shots are taken from different angles they can appear to the audience to be different explosions. See also, single camera setup. Light stage is a device used for capturing the shape, texture and reflectance of a target, usually for the purposes of virtual cinematography. Light stages are usually a combination of multiple camera and structured light techniques, and additionally polarizers are included to find the subsurface scattering component of the target's skin. References